Right across Britain, from river valleys and the wildest woods to the bustling cities and patchwork farmland, one iconic species thrives.
Foxes are the most successful small canid on planet Earth. They're an integral part of our ecosystems in the UK.
This is an icon of our countryside. It should be cherished, it should be protected. It's something that we should be proud of in Britain.
But being so successful brings the fox into conflict with the modern lives and traditions of British people.
They do just want the same things that we all do: food, water, shelter, and somewhere safe to bring up their young.
If you were to ask me, what's the difference between pre-hunting act and post-hunting act? Absolutely nothing. Hunts are still going out there hunting just as they did.
Fortunately for the fox, every hour of every day, there are people all across the country taking action in whatever way they can.
Hello, Fox Project.
It's breakfast time at the Fox Project in Kent,
yes.
and phone calls about foxes in need of rescue are
Okay,
already
whereabouts are
coming
you
in.
calling from? Brilliant. All right, thank you very much. Bye, bye. Right.
The Fox Project rescues and treats more than 1,000 foxes every year. But today, as well as collecting a badly injured fox from a garden, the team is preparing to move 2 foxes to outside pens.
So this is one that will go out to an outside pen because, as you can see, she has mange. When she came in, she was very, very crusty.
These patients are on the mend, and they will continue their recovery in larger pens under the care of volunteer fosterers until they are fit and healthy, ready to be released.
So we have 30 fosterers roughly, and they have pens, foster pens dotted around the area that we cover. And when we get an adult fox or when we get cubs in, we will use them to provide the foxes with a larger space and an outside space, so a more natural space for them. And we deal with usually over 350 cubs every year. But on average, we probably have about 200 in care all at once. So usually becoming at the peak of cub season, we struggle for where we can put the adults. But a lot of this we wouldn't be able to do without our volunteer rescuers and our volunteer unit partners, because otherwise the day is manic. Put this here.
After 2 weeks of treatment for mange, these foxes will be taken back to their territories and released.
They'll have some communication between the two as well. It's always a good sign that they jump straight up onto the shelf.
By mid-morning, hunt monitors and saboteurs throughout the countryside are preparing for a long day following fox hunts.
Hunts have carried on exactly the same as they had before the Hunting Act came in, and that whole issue around trail hunting being a smokescreen is fact, because I've been there before the Hunting Act and I've seen it after the Hunting Act, and nothing's changed.
Technology helps monitors and saboteurs, known as SABs, to gather evidence of illegal hunting. Working in teams and giving chase on foot, SABs work quickly to cover the scent of a fox. Cracking a whip and shouting commands delays the hounds and buys the fox precious moments. Hounds enter the woods to pick up the fox's scent again, while terriermen move into position, waiting for the signal to deploy their terriers into a den after an exhausted fox. The sabs arrive at the den to find the excited hounds digging at the entrance. With the chase up, the hounds are called back to the huntsman. The sabs may have won the day, but without more formal enforcement, illegal hunting remains a threat to foxes and other wildlife every single day. In London, collections of fox remains are helping curators and researchers to understand how foxes are adapting to the changes we are making to their world.
One of the advantages of working in a collection like the museum is that you have a lot of comparative material. So we got foxes here that have been collected over the past couple of hundred years in the British Isles, and we have also fossils of foxes that also date tens of thousands of years. So that gives you a very long span of time to assess how that species is changing. And the process of evolution never stops, so you would expect changes, whether those are driven because of anthropogenic reasons or naturally happening.
Studies of foxes in London, led by the University of Glasgow, recently found that the shape of urban fox skulls are evolving. Shorter snouts and smaller brain capacity are signs of how foxes are adapting to the world that we are creating.
This is a subfossil mandible, and this one is about 12,000 to 9,000 years old or so. And it was collected in Georgia in the Starkar site. And that is a reminder that foxes have been around cohabiting with humans for a long time in the British Isles. Fox has not just adapted in the rural to live with the changes that we made to the landscape, but not many species can overcome an imposition of the size of a city or a town. So we changed the world for them, and luckily they have still managed to adapt and survive in it. And so certainly we have a lot to learn about how these guys actually managed to do that. So the foxes are fantastic animals that we still should learn more about, because it's in our interest. If they are so successful, maybe there's a few lessons for us there to learn for our species.
As evening falls, this farm in the southwest of England prepares to lock down for the night. 5 years ago, no longer happy to control foxes, the farmer invested in a state-of-the-art, predator-proof fence to protect the free-range chicken flock. Despite the fence, the range is still patrolled every night for any hens that haven't made it back to roost in the barn. Weak points where badgers have tunnelled underneath are also checked. This simple act of animal husbandry removes any temptation for hungry foxes willing to take on the fence. Fox cubs are now being born on the farm because of this investment, cubs that will go on to repay the farmer by controlling rodents and rabbits. Another person with fox cubs on his doorstep is London wildlife photographer Matthew Maran, one of 3 photographers behind the book Fox, Neighbour, Villain, Icon.
I've been shooting foxes in London for just over 5 years now, and never could I have imagined it would evolve into this wonderfully exciting book project and collaboration with 2 photographers who have become great friends, and all on this similar mission to give this very divisive animal a voice.
We want this to be the definitive fox book. It's a beautiful collection of images. The text is going to be really informative. It's going to bust all the myths that have been peddled for so long.
I think a book that celebrates foxes and displays them as they are, very beautiful animals, but also animals that have integrated themselves into the fabric of our society quite literally, is a brilliant idea, because the fox is one of those animals which unfortunately people still like to demonise.
Most of my experiences of photographing in the city have been really positive. A lot of people ask, what's it like, and do you feel threatened about having expensive camera equipment out? But yeah, actually quite the opposite. There have been times coming out here at night, and I've seen families bring their young children out literally for a fox safari, and that really fills me with joy. If you see it and love it, then there's more chance that we'll protect it. There are so many good things that have come from making this book, and seeing how much people care about foxes is humbling. And I don't come from a science background, I'm not a vet, so I think we can all do our bit. I feel like this is me doing my bit, photographing them, telling stories, getting these images hopefully to as many people as possible. And I do believe that this can change some hearts and minds, even if it's just a few. For me, that will be progress.
Every hour of every day, right across Britain, there are people doing what they can to help the fox. But over the last 25 years, fox numbers in Britain have still fallen by almost a half. You can play your part by buying a copy of Fox, Neighbour, Villain, Icon, which is supporting partners doing hands-on work. And through its photography and essays, the book hopes to tackle the myths surrounding Britain's largest remaining carnivore. Donating or giving your time to an organisation helping foxes also makes a real difference to the fate of other wildlife and habitats throughout our towns and countryside.